Welcome to Fear Spiral. It started 3 nights ago. I dreamed of a man standing at the end of a long, foggy road. I couldn't see his face, only his silhouette, tall and thin, like smoke shaped into a person. He didn't move, he just watched. When I woke up, I still felt his eyes on me, a cold weight in the room. I tried to shake it off, telling myself it was just a bad dream, probably something I ate. But the feeling lingered, like a static charge in the air. The second night, the dream returned. This time, the road was shorter, the fog a little thinner. He was closer. I could almost make out the shape of his shoulders, the way his head was tilted slightly, as if listening. Again, he just stood there, a silent sentinel in my subconscious. And again, I woke up with that same chilling sensation of being observed. I spent the whole day looking over my shoulder, jumping at shadows. The line between my dream and my reality was starting to blur, and a knot of dread began to form in my stomach. Last night was the worst. The fog was almost gone, and he was standing just a few feet away. I still couldn't see his face. It was a void, a patch of darkness where features should have been, but I knew, somehow, he was smiling. I woke up with my heart pounding against my ribs, drenched in a cold sweat. But this time, something was different. Something was new. There was a single, long shadow cast on my bedroom wall, a shadow that wasn't mine. It was tall and thin, and it stretched from the corner of the room, almost reaching the foot of my bed. I'm not dreaming anymore. The next night I dreamed again. It was the same dream, the same shadowy figure at the edge of my vision, but this time, he was closer, so much closer. I could feel a strange energy radiating from him, a mix of curiosity and something else I couldn't quite place. It wasn't menacing, not exactly, but it was intense, and it made the hair on my arms stand up even in the dream world. He leaned in, and the world around us seemed to muffle, like we were suddenly underwater. He whispered something, a single word that brushed against my ear. It was a sound I'd never heard before, yet it felt hauntingly familiar. It was like he was trying to say my name, but the word was twisted, stretched, and filtered through a thick layer of static, like an old radio struggling to find a clear signal. The sound vibrated through me, a chilling echo that seemed to settle deep in my bones. Then, just as quickly, I was awake. My heart was pounding against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat in the dead silence of my room. But it wasn't silent. There was a soft, whistling sound. A draft. My eyes shot toward the window. It was wide open, letting the freezing night air pour into my room, making my curtains dance like frantic ghosts. I felt a cold dread wash over me, colder than the air itself. I never ever open my window at night. I always lock it before I go to bed. It's a ritual, a habit born from living in the city. I slowly got out of bed, my feet hesitating to touch the icy floor. Every nerve was on high alert. I crept over to the window, peering out into the darkness, searching for any sign of disturbance, any explanation. But there was nothing, just the empty street below, bathed in the pale orange glow of the streetlights. I shut the window and locked it, my fingers trembling slightly. I checked it twice, then a third time. As I stood there, wrapped in my blanket, staring at my own reflection in the dark glass, the distorted whisper from my dream echoed in my mind. The cold in the room was one thing, but the cold that was now spreading from the inside out was something else entirely. Something had changed. The line between my dreams and my reality was starting to blur, and I had a terrifying feeling that whatever was trying to reach me in my sleep was now finding a way into my waking world. Have you ever woken up from a nightmare so real, you could still feel it? Not just in your mind, but on your skin. For 3 nights in a row, the same thing happened. As soon as I fell asleep, I was back in that old dusty room, with the one small window and the heavy oak door, and he was there, a tall, shadowy figure, standing in the corner, just watching me. I couldn't see his face, but I could feel his eyes on me, cold and empty. The first 2 nights, he just stood there, motionless. I was paralyzed, trapped in my own mind, screaming without a sound. I'd wake up in a cold sweat, my heart hammering against my ribs. Convinced someone had been in my room, I'd check the locks, peek under the bed, anything to calm my nerves. But of course, I was always alone. I tried to tell myself it was just a dream, just my imagination running wild. But the third night was different. This time, he moved. He glided across the floor, silent as a ghost, until he was standing right beside my bed. The air grew frigid, and I could see my own breath fogging in front of me. I tried to scream, to run, but my body wouldn't obey. I was completely frozen. Slowly, so slowly, he reached out a hand toward me. I couldn't move. I couldn't even blink. His hand touched my wrist and it was cold, sharp, like a piece of ice searing my skin. The shock of it was so intense, so real, I finally screamed myself awake. I sat bolt upright, gasping for air, the phantom cold still tingling on my arm. The room was empty. Sunlight was just starting to peek through the blinds. It was over. It was just a dream. But then, as my breathing returned to normal, I looked down at my wrist, and my blood ran cold. There, on my skin, was a faint red mark. Not a scratch, not a bruise. It was the distinct, unmistakable shape of fingers. His fingers. Right where he had touched me. It all started about 3 weeks ago. I'd be sound asleep, and then, like clockwork, at exactly 3:13 a.m., I'd be jolted awake by this sound, a faint knocking, coming from right behind my bedroom wall. It wasn't random, either, it was a pattern. 3 distinct knocks, a short pause, and then 2 more. Knock 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 ... knock every single night. At first, I tried to rationalize it. Old pipes, the house settling, maybe a neighbor who kept weird hours. But 3:13 a.m., every night, it felt too precise, too deliberate. It felt like someone or something was trying to send me a message. After the first week, my nerves were completely shot. I was barely sleeping, just lying there in the dark, heart pounding, waiting for 3:13 a.m. to roll around. I decided I couldn't take it anymore. So, I packed up my pillow and blankets and moved to the couch in the living room. I figured if I put enough distance between me and that wall, I could finally get some peace. The first night on the couch was amazing. I slept through the whole night, no interruptions. I woke up feeling refreshed, thinking I'd finally solved it. But the relief was short-lived. The second night, it happened again, 3:13 a.m. But this time, the sound wasn't coming from the bedroom. It was coming from the wall behind the couch. The exact same wall I was sleeping against. 3 knocks, a pause, then 2. It had followed me. That's when the real terror set in. This wasn't about the house's plumbing or some random noise. It knew where I was. It was attached to me. I grabbed my keys and my phone and spent the rest of the night in my car, too scared to even go back inside. What do you do when the thing you're running from isn't in your house, but seems to be following you wherever you go? I've been staying with a friend for the past few days, and thankfully, it's been quiet. But I can't stay here forever. I have to go back. I have to figure out what this is. I've started researching the history of my apartment building, looking into old records, anything that might give me a clue. I feel like I'm on the edge of discovering something, but I'm also terrified of what I might find. I'm going to keep documenting everything that happens. You know that feeling when you wake up, and for a split second, you're not sure if the dream you just had was real. That was me this morning. I had this recurring nightmare, the kind that sticks to you like a shadow all day. In the dream, I'm in my bed, paralyzed, and there's this tall, dark figure just standing in the corner of my room, watching me. I always wake up drenched in sweat, my heart hammering against my ribs. So, this morning was no different. I woke up, heart racing, and did what we all do. I grabbed my phone to distract myself. I was just scrolling mindlessly, you know, trying to shake off that lingering sense of dread. I opened my photo gallery, maybe to look at some old vacation pictures, something happy. But then my thumb stopped. There was a new picture, right at the top. The most recent one, and my blood ran cold. I know for a fact I didn't take this picture. My hand started to shake as I tapped on it, enlarging it to fill the screen. It was my bedroom, my own bedroom. The photo was taken from a strange angle, high up, from the corner near the ceiling. It was like someone, or something, was perched up there. And in the photo, clear as day, was me. I was sound asleep in my bed, facing away from the camera. I zoomed in, my breath catching in my throat. And there, just behind me, at the very edge of the shadows where the light from the hallway couldn't reach, it stood, the same tall, slender figure from my dreams. It was just standing there, motionless, a silhouette against the deeper darkness of the room. It wasn't a dream anymore. It was in a photo on my phone, a photo I never took. It started subtly, the kind of thing you dismiss as your imagination playing tricks on you. My house began to smell strange, like a damp fog had rolled in off the moors and mixed with the acrid scent of burnt metal. At first, I blamed the old wiring, maybe a faulty appliance, but the smell clung to everything, a constant, chilling reminder. Then, the taste. Every breath I took tasted like that cold, metallic air from the dream road, the same road I walked down every single night in my sleep, leading to a place I couldn't quite remember when I woke up. I tried to ignore it, to rationalize it. I aired out the house, bought scented candles, and checked every outlet. but the feeling of dread was a knot in my stomach that wouldn't loosen. The real shift, the moment I knew this wasn't just in my head, was because of my cat Luna. She's always been my little shadow, curling up at the foot of my bed every night. But she stopped. She wouldn't even step over the threshold of my bedroom anymore. Instead, she'd just stand in the hallway, her back arched, fur on end, hissing. She wasn't hissing at me though. She was hissing at the empty corner of my room, the same corner where the man always stood in my dreams. Tall, featureless, just a silhouette against the perpetual twilight of my sleep. Seeing her react like that, confirming a presence I could only see with my eyes closed, that's when the terror truly set in. This wasn't a dream anymore. Whatever I was meeting in my sleep had followed me home, and it was standing in my room, right now. I just couldn't see it. What do you do when the nightmares bleed into your waking life? When your own pet confirms your deepest fears? It always starts the same way. A flicker in the corner of your eye, a sound you can't quite place. For me, it started with a mirror. Just a regular antique mirror I found at a flea market. It had this ornate, dark wood frame, you know, the ones that look like they've seen 100 years of secrets. I hung it in my bedroom, right opposite my bed. Big mistake. Last night, I was getting ready to sleep, just going through the motions, when I glanced up, and I saw him. He was standing behind me in the reflection, a tall, shadowy figure, indistinct, like smoke. My heart just stopped. I whipped around, expecting someone to be there, my breath caught in my throat, but the room was empty. Just me and the silent hum of the city outside. I laughed, a nervous, shaky sound. You're just tired, I told myself. Seeing things, but when I turned back to the mirror, my blood ran cold. The room behind me in the reflection was still empty, but he wasn't. He was still there, in the glass, and he was closer. His shape was clearer now. A pale face, dark, hollow eyes, a wide, thin-lipped smile that didn't reach them. It was a predatory smile. He was looking right at me. Right asterisk through asterisk me. I couldn't move, couldn't scream. It felt like my lungs were encased in ice. He took another step in the reflection, his form gliding without moving his feet. Now he was right behind my reflected self. I could see his hand, long and skeletal, reaching out, reaching for my shoulder in the mirror. I watched, paralyzed, as his reflection's fingers touched my reflection's shoulder. The moment they made contact, a deafening crack echoed through my real-world room. A spiderweb of fractures shot across the glass, originating from where his hand had touched. The shock sent me stumbling backward, and I fell hard onto the floor. The mirror weakened, crashed down from the wall, shattering into 1,000 glittering pieces across the hardwood. I scrambled away, gasping for air, my heart hammering against my ribs. After a moment I dared to look. The shards littered the floor like fallen stars. And in every single piece, no matter how small, I could see a fragment of his face, and I hear the corner of that terrible smile there. All of them pieced together on my floor, still watching me, still smiling. And I knew, deep in my bones, this was only the beginning. Video begins. A person sits in a dimly lit room, looking thoughtful and a little shaken. They speak directly to the camera. It all started with the dreams. At first, they were just strange whispers of a world not quite like ours, a place shrouded in a gentle, persistent fog. I'd see fragments a winding path through ancient woods, a stone cottage with a thatched roof, and a figure, always at a distance, silhouetted against a pale sky. I thought, it was just my imagination running wild. Maybe I'd been reading too many fantasy novels or watching too many old films. I tried to brush it off, but the dreams kept coming back, night after night. They became more vivid, more real. I could feel the damp earth under my feet, smell the wood smoke from the cottage chimney. The distant figure started getting closer. It was a man, I could tell, but his features were always just out of focus. He never spoke, but I felt a sense of longing, a quiet invitation. It wasn't scary, it was peaceful, almost comforting. I started looking forward to sleep, eager to return to this other place. That's when I realized, this wasn't a haunting. A haunting is something that invades your space, something unwelcome. This felt different. This felt like a crossing. Every dream was blurring the line between his world and mine, like two parallel streams slowly converging. It felt like he was patiently waiting for me, and I was unknowingly walking toward him. And last night, something shifted. The dream was clearer than ever. He stood before a wooden door, half hidden by ivy, and for the first time he turned the handle. The door creaked open, revealing not darkness, but a soft, warm light. He simply smiled and gestured for me to follow. When I woke up this morning, my heart was pounding. The sun was streaming through my window. Everything looked normal. I swung my legs out of bed, ready to dismiss it all as the most intense dream I'd ever had. But then I saw it. My breath caught in my throat. Starting from the side of my bed, leading out into the hallway, were a series of distinct, muddy footprints. They weren't mine. The door hadn't just opened in my dream, it had opened for real. And now, I don't know if he crossed into my world, or if a part of me crossed into his. All I know is, I have to find out where those footsteps lead. He doesn't whisper from afar anymore. Now, he speaks right beside my ear, especially when I'm just on the edge of sleep. You know that quiet moment, when the world fades and your mind starts to drift? That's when he arrives. It used to be a faint sound, like wind through distant trees, a murmur I could almost dismiss as part of a dream, but it's changed. It's become intimate, personal. Sometimes, he repeats the word from my very first dream, that initial, confusing encounter that started all of this. Back then, it was just a jumble of sounds, a puzzle I couldn't piece together, but it's clearer now. The distortion has faded, the static has gone, and the message is chillingly precise. He's saying, "Wake me up," just 2 words, but they carry the weight of 1,000 unanswered questions. Wake who up? Himself? Me? Is it a plea or a command? I lie there, my eyes wide open in the dark, heart pounding against my ribs. The voice isn't angry, it's not threatening, it's patient, and that's what scares me the most. It feels like he's been waiting for a very, very long time, and my awareness is the key. Every night I brace myself for it. I've tried everything, leaving the lights on, playing music, even staying up until I collapse from exhaustion, but none of it works. He always finds that sliver of silence, that moment of vulnerability. It's like he's a part of my own consciousness, a shadow that's finally learned to speak. Wake me up. The words echo long after he's gone, leaving me alone with the terrifying possibility that I might be the only one who can. I didn't sleep last night. I know I didn't. I stared at the ceiling until the black turned to gray, and the gray turned to that pale, washed-out blue of early morning. But somehow, I still dreamed. Or maybe, I'm dreaming right now. It started subtly, a feeling, the kind of quiet certainty that you're no longer alone in a room. I tried to dismiss it, blaming the exhaustion, the tricks an overtired mind plays on itself. But then, this morning, I walked into my kitchen, and there they were. 2 coffee mugs on my small wooden table. One was mine, half empty, cold from yesterday, but the other was steaming. A perfect, untouched black coffee, sending little wisps of vapor into the chilly air. I only own 1 mug. I live alone. My heart started that frantic bird-in-a-cage beat against my ribs. I backed away slowly, my eyes scanning the room, searching for an explanation that wasn't there. That's when I saw it. On the window, still fogged from the morning chill, a handprint was slowly appearing, not from the outside, but from the inside. A large, perfect print right next to where I was standing just a moment ago. As if someone had been standing right there, looking out at the dawn with me. He's here now. I can feel it. A presence as real as the floorboards beneath my feet. The air is thick with it, charged with a story I don't remember writing. I look at the steaming mug, then at the fading handprint on the glass. A question hangs in the silence of my apartment. A question that terrifies me more than anything else. I do want to know which one of us is still dreaming. Is this my reality, or am I just a character in his? I'm not sure where this is going, but I have a feeling it's just the beginning. If you want to find out what happens next, what's real and what isn't, stick around. Follow along and maybe we can solve this together. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment, and share. It really helps me out.